Welcome to this explainer, everyone. Today we're looking at a figure who, honestly, forever altered the landscape of electronic music, Vincent Belorgey, better known to the world as Kavinsky. As you probably know, the music world was recently just jolted by the sudden, tragic news of his passing. So today we're going to respectfully explore the man, the incredible myth he created, and the enduring sonic legacy he leaves behind.
Okay, let's dive into this. When the news of his death broke on Reddit, the outpouring of grief from the community was immediate, and you could tell it was deeply personal. Among the hundreds of comments, there was one from user Sambrella2007 that really stood out. They wrote, "Guess he finally answered the Nightcall." It's a poignant reaction, isn't it? It perfectly captures just how deeply Kavinsky's cinematic, brooding music connected with his fans. For so many of us, his tracks weren't just background noise. They were the actual soundtracks to our own late-night drives and introspective moments.
The truly tragic reality here is that Vincent Belorgey passed away suddenly on July 28, 2026, at just 50 years old. And there is a profound, almost heartbreaking irony to this. You see, Kavinsky spent his entire musical career playing the role of an immortal, resurrected zombie from the 1980s, entirely untouched by time. Yet the brilliant creator behind those glowing red eyes and that iconic vintage bomber jacket was all too human, and taken from us far too soon.
Section 1. The End of an Era. From the Olympic stage to a sudden tragedy. So, what actually happened? Well, according to reports from major outlets like The Guardian and Le Figaro, Belorgey was found dead in his Paris home after a concerned neighbor alerted emergency services. He had reportedly been complaining of severe headaches in the days leading up to his passing. Now, while Parisian authorities did conduct a thorough investigation, they quickly stated there were absolutely no suspicious elements found at his home. A police source indicated that the suspected cause of death was a stroke. The impact of his loss rippled way beyond just the underground electronic music community. The man was a monumental cultural figure in France. We saw tributes pouring in from the absolute highest levels of government, including the mayor of Paris. But perhaps the most striking tribute came from French President Emmanuel Macron himself, who declared Kavinsky a source of French pride forever. He wasn't just a DJ, he was a national icon who spent his career exporting a uniquely French sound to the rest of the globe. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer scale of the global resurgence he was experiencing right before he died. At the 2024 Paris Olympics closing ceremony, Kavinsky took to the global stage to perform his biggest hit, backed by the French band Phoenix and the Belgian pop singer Angèle. The result? Absolute hysteria. This monumental performance literally skyrocketed the track to number 3 on the French charts. And even more incredibly, it broke Shazam records for the most searched song in a single day and the most searches in a single minute. Moving right along to Section 2, Birth of a Zombie, the Man versus the Myth. To truly appreciate his art, we have to separate the creator from the creation. On one side, we have Vincent Belorgey, born in 1975. He was a Parisian actor who organically began making music on a discarded Apple computer, which was actually gifted to him by his friend, the legendary producer Mr. Oizo. On the other side, we have his alter ego, Kavinsky. The backstory of this fictional character is wild. He crashed his Ferrari Testarossa in 1986 and was resurrected as a zombie 2 decades later to make music. It is a brilliant piece of dramatic irony that this immortal, undead persona will now eternally outlive its mortal creator. Belorgey masterfully created this myth so he could tell vivid stories without having to just slap his own face on a record sleeve. Kavinsky's music effectively became the gold standard for Synthwave. For those who might not know, he seamlessly fused 1980s film soundtracks, 16-bit video games, and the driving, relentless rhythms of French house music into an entirely new aesthetic. Belorgey once noted that he was deeply inspired by the thousands of movies he watched as a child. He essentially cherry-picked his favorite cinematic elements and consolidated them into one cohesive concept. He wasn't just producing dance music, he was directing audio movies. Looking at his career timeline, it is seriously a masterclass in patient, deliberate world building. He debuted back in 2006 with his Teddy Boy EP, which was incredibly written, and recorded entirely on a vintage 1980s Yamaha DX7 keyboard. That really laid the foundation. Then came 2011, when his track Nightcall was featured in the Nicholas Winding Refn film Drive. That changed literally everything. He capitalized on this massive momentum with his 2013 smash debut album OutRun, which charted at number 2 in France. And then, after a long 7-year hiatus, he returned in 2022 with his beautifully crafted second album, Reborn.
Every single release meticulously expanded the Kavinsky universe.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 3, the Nightcall phenomenon, deconstructing an electronic masterpiece.
Over 500 million. Let that sink in. That is the staggering number of streams Nightcall has on Spotify alone. When you factor in the 350 million YouTube plays and all the other platforms, the numbers are just astronomical. The song achieved immediate cult and mainstream status the exact second it played over the opening credits of the Ryan Gosling film Drive, perfectly soundtracking those neon-soaked nighttime streets of Los Angeles.
But here's the thing, this masterpiece was not built in isolation. It was a perfect storm of collaborative genius. It was co-produced by none other than Daft Punk's Guy Manuel de Homem-Christo and mixed by fellow French electronic artist Sébastien Za. The brilliant dynamic of the song really comes from the contrast in its vocal performances. You have the Brazilian singer Love Foxes from the band CSS delivering this soaring romantic chorus, juxtaposed directly against Kavinsky's heavily vocoded, almost robotic verse vocals. It perfectly, and I mean perfectly, pairs malevolence with romance.
So the crucial point is, how exactly was this iconic sound engineered? Well, it starts with a simple, driving 8-note arpeggio mimicking a vintage Juno 60 synth. But then, it physically pulls you into its dark atmosphere using a deep, Prophet 5-style resonant filter suite for the bass. By the time the chorus absolutely explodes into a dense wall of bright, detuned strings and classic 80s chorus effects, the digital distortion creates this brooding atmosphere that you can literally feel right in your chest. And that brings us to Section 4, an immortal legacy, the enduring impact of OutRun. French culture minister Catherine Pagard summarized his impact perfectly. She stated, France loses one of its most singular voices. From the film Drive to the Paris Olympics, the entire world had pulsed to Nightcall. This really emphasizes his permanent mark on electronic music. He wasn't just some fleeting trend. His music bridged generational divides and geographical borders. He quite literally made the entire world pulse to the exact same beat. And this brilliantly illustrates that his legacy isn't just surviving, it's actively growing. Following that massive Olympic performance, the official new version of Nightcall achieved a SNEP Diamond certification in France. The music just continues to permeate popular culture in totally new ways, even inspiring the Irish rock band Inhaler to record a guitar-driven cover of it in 2025. It just goes to show that masterful songwriting transcends its original genre. Which leaves us with this final thought. Vincent Belorgey has returned to the mortal coil, but what he created was so much bigger than himself. He engineered a sound, a visual aesthetic, and a character that are fundamentally timeless. The man may be gone, but as you start your engine for your next late-night drive, ask yourself, will the legend of Kavinsky drive on forever? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring the music that moves you.